A kind waiter paid for an old woman's coffee, never knowing she was a billionaire. Clara Whitfield sat quietly in the corner booth of Rosewood Cafe, her weathered hands wrapped around an empty coffee cup. The 78-year-old woman wore a soft lavender blouse that had seen better days, its fabric slightly faded but meticulously clean. Her silver hair was neatly styled in gentle waves that framed her kind face, and despite the worry lines around her eyes, there was something dignified about her presence. She had been sitting there for nearly an hour, watching the rain streak down the large windows that overlooked the bustling street. The cafe buzzed with the morning rush, filled with young professionals grabbing their caffeine fix before heading to gleaming office towers. Clara felt invisible among them, just another elderly person taking up space. The truth was, she couldn't afford another cup of coffee. Her small purse contained exactly $2.37, barely enough for bus fare home to her modest apartment. She had come here not just for the warmth, but because she was searching for something precious that money couldn't buy. James Martinez approached her table with the same gentle smile he offered every customer. At 28, he carried himself with quiet confidence, his dark hair neatly combed and his blue apron crisp despite the morning rush. He had noticed the elegant elderly woman when she first arrived. Something about her reminded him of his own grandmother back in New Mexico. "Good morning, ma'am," James said softly, his voice carrying the warmth of genuine care. "Can I get you anything else today?" Clara looked up, her pale blue eyes meeting his brown ones. She saw kindness there, something that had become increasingly rare in her recent experiences. "Oh, I'm fine, dear. Just enjoying the atmosphere." But James had been waiting tables for 5 years, and he recognized the signs. The way she made that single cup of coffee last so long. The careful way she counted coins in her purse when she thought no one was looking. The proud tilt of her chin that spoke of someone trying to maintain dignity in difficult circumstances. "You know," James said, pulling out his order pad, "we just brewed a fresh pot of our house blend. It's actually my favorite, and I was hoping someone with good taste might try it and tell me what they think." Clara's eyes softened, understanding the gentle deception. This young man was offering her kindness wrapped in dignity. "Well," she said slowly, "I suppose I could help you with that." James poured the coffee himself, bringing it to her table along with a small plate of fresh pastries. "These are from yesterday," he said with a conspiratorial whisper, "but they're still perfectly good. Shame to waste them." As Clara sipped the warm coffee, she studied James's face. There was something familiar about his gentle nature, his instinct to care for others without expectation. It reminded her of someone she had been searching for, someone who had shown her similar kindness decades ago. "What's your name, dear?" she asked. "James Martinez, ma'am. I've been working here for about 2 years now." Clara nodded thoughtfully. "James, that's a strong name. Tell me, do you have family here in Chicago?" "Some," James replied, glancing around to make sure his manager wasn't watching him chat. "My grandmother raised me until I was 18. She passed away about 10 years ago, but she taught me everything important about treating people right." Something flickered in Clara's eyes. "What was her name?" "Rosa Martinez. She worked as a housekeeper for most of her life, but she was the wisest person I ever knew." Clara's coffee cup trembled slightly in her hands. Rosa Martinez, the name she had been searching for, asking about in cafes and diners across the city. For months, the woman who had changed her life 47 years ago. Rosa Martinez. Clara repeated softly, "Did she ever work for a family named Whitfield?" James's eyebrows rose in surprise. "Yes, actually, she worked for them for over 20 years. She used to tell me stories about the family, especially about a young woman who was kind to her when others weren't." "Why do you ask?" Clara sat down, her cup, her hands shaking now with emotion rather than age. "Because I'm Clara Whitfield, and I've been looking for your grandmother's family for a very long time." The busy cafe seemed to fade away as James stared at this elderly woman in disbelief. His grandmother had indeed worked for the Whitfield family, one of Chicago's wealthiest dynasties. Rosa had always spoken fondly of young Clara, the daughter who treated her with respect and genuine friendship when the rest of the family barely acknowledged her existence. "You're Clara Whitfield," James whispered. "But you're here, drinking coffee like everyone else." Clara smiled, the first genuine smile James had seen from her. "Oh, my dear boy, I am Clara Whitfield, but not in the way you might think. Let me tell you a story that your grandmother knew, but few others did." She paused, gathering her thoughts as memories flooded back. 47 years ago, I was a different person. Spoiled, entitled, angry at the world. My father had just died, leaving me his fortune, but I was lost and bitter. Your grandmother, Rosa, was the only person who saw through my pain to the person I could become. James slid into the booth across from her, captivated. One day, I was particularly cruel to her, and instead of simply accepting it as she always did, Rosa sat me down and spoke to me with such gentle wisdom. She told me that wealth without kindness was poverty of the soul. She said that the measure of a person wasn't in what they owned, but in what they gave. Clara's eyes grew distant with memory. That conversation changed everything. But by the time I realized how profoundly she had affected me, Rosa had moved away. I tried to find her for years, but I lost track. When I finally did locate her again, I learned she had passed away, but I never stopped looking for her family, hoping to somehow repay the debt I owed her. James listened in amazement as Clara continued. "You see, James, I did inherit my father's fortune, but Rosa's words haunted me. I couldn't simply enjoy wealth while others struggled. So I gave most of it away, quietly, through foundations and charities. I kept enough to live comfortably, but I wanted to live simply, to understand what real life was like for people like your grandmother." She gestured around the cafe. "I've been coming to places like this for months, not because I couldn't afford better, but because I was searching. I was looking for Rosa's family, hoping to find them and somehow honor her memory." James's mind reeled. "But if you gave away most of your fortune, why are you sitting here worried about the cost of coffee?" Clara laughed, a sound like silver bells. "Because this morning I made a choice. I decided to spend my last few dollars on coffee while I continued my search, trusting that somehow things would work out. I never imagined that the person I was looking for would be the one serving me." She reached across the table and took James's hands. "Your grandmother's kindness literally changed the course of my life." She turned a bitter, selfish young woman into someone who learned the joy of giving. Because of her, I've helped build schools, fund scholarships, support families in need. Thousands of people have better lives because of what Rosa taught me." James felt tears forming in his eyes. His grandmother had always been his hero, but he had never known the full extent of her influence. "There's something else," Clara continued. "I've been looking for Rosa's family because I wanted to establish something in her honor. A foundation that would provide scholarships for young people like you. People who understand the value of kindness and hard work." She opened her small purse and pulled out a business card, worn from handling. "I may not carry much cash anymore, but I still have resources. This morning, when you showed me the same kindness your grandmother once showed me, you proved that her legacy lives on." James looked at the card. It was simple, elegant. "Clara Whitfield Foundation, honoring those who serve others." "I don't understand," James said quietly. Clara smiled. "I want you to be the first recipient of the Rosa Martinez Scholarship Fund. It will cover your education, whatever you want to study, wherever you want to go. But more than that, I want you to help me run the foundation. Your grandmother taught me about kindness, but you've shown me it still exists in the next generation." The cafe continued to bustle around them, but their corner seemed wrapped in its own quiet miracle. James thought of his grandmother, of her stories about the young woman who had grown into something beautiful because of a housekeeper's wisdom. "She would be so proud," he whispered. Clara nodded. "She already was. She used to tell me that she raised you to be a light in the world. Watching you treat a stranger with such gentle kindness, I can see she was right." Over the following months, James would learn that Clara's modest resources were anything but small. The foundation she had established was worth millions, all carefully managed to maximum impact. But more importantly, he learned that true wealth came not from having much, but from giving much. The Rosewood Cafe became their regular meeting place, where they planned scholarships and community programs. Clara, who had spent decades searching for purpose beyond wealth, founded in continuing Rose's legacy of kindness. James, who had been working to save money for school, found himself not just educated, but educated in the profound truth his grandmother had always known, that the smallest acts of kindness can change everything. Years later, when James graduated with honors and took over much of the foundation's daily operations, he would often sit in that same corner booth, sharing coffee with elderly visitors who reminded him of Clara. He had learned that you never know who sits across from you, what struggles they carry, or what impact a simple act of kindness might have. Clara, now in her 80s, still visited the cafe weekly. She would sit in her favorite booth, wearing her simple clothes and gentle smile, watching James treat each customer with the same grace he had shown her that rainy morning. The foundation had grown to impact thousands of lives, but she knew that its greatest success was in proving that Rosa Martinez's wisdom continued to ripple through the world. The young woman who had once been bitter and lost had found her purpose in an aging body and a servant's heart. The young man who had simply wanted to treat others with kindness had discovered that such treatment was the foundation of a meaningful life. And in a busy cafe in Chicago, their story continued to unfold, one cup of coffee and one act of kindness at a time, proving that the most valuable fortunes are the ones we give away.